Good morning, everybody. We're going to give everybody a moment just to get in here and then we'll get started. Thank you for joining us this morning. I want to welcome everybody. We're just letting another few more folks come on in to the session this morning. Thank you for joining us. We'll get started in just one moment. I would like to say at the front end here that we will be recording this session and then you can put questions into the Q&A section if you have a question for folks. All right, everybody, I guess we should go ahead and get started in the interest of time. And just for those of you who have showed up on time, we appreciate you being timely. I wanted to just thank you all for joining us here today and welcome to the latest in our series of Pathways. The Pathway series this season is focused on growth and business expansion. So whether you're growing your business or expanding your business, the topics we're covering throughout this series will help you address those topics. We're going to be addressing everything over the next 6 to 8 months, and we'll be focusing on a variety of elements. I want to thank our sponsor for today's session, Lerch Brewer. They will be speaking with us a little later related to land use and employment and licensing and permitting and a host of other topics. My name is Alicia Moran, and I am the manager of small business services here at Prince George's County Economic Development Corporation. And again, I want to thank you for joining us here on this Pathways to Business Expansion and Growth series. This is the first session, and we're going to be talking about site selection and how important it is to select the right site and what tools you need to take into consideration to do just that. The Pathways series is covering, next slide, please. The Pathways series has been covering a number of topics. So previous sessions, we've actually focused on pathways to financial management, trying to give our business community information related to how to build a strong financial foundation. What kind of tools, what kind of elements do they need to have in place to have that strong financial foundation? We also then hosted a program series on pathways to procurement that covered everything from certifications and introduced you to resource partners like the Procurement Technical Assistance Center and the Minority Business Development Center. And today we're continuing with the Pathways series that are all focused on helping our companies grow and expand here in Prince George's County. So next slide, please. So the Pathways series is just a part of what we do here at Economic Development, Prince George's County Economic Development Corporation. There are a variety of programs here to help our businesses grow, whether it's focusing on them through Takeout Tuesday or highlighting them during through the Buy Prince George's program. We have hosted the Emerge Stronger programs, as well as offered grants to help our companies through different difficult times during the COVID environment. The next slide, please. So our core services at economic development here at Prince George's County focus on everything from site selection and permitting assistance. We are focused on job creation, business retention, and expansion. And so we're really here to solve your problems and help you identify solutions. And we do that through a variety of means, offering one-on-one assistance to our businesses. Next slide, please. It's a team of people here at EDC. There are industry experts, everything from healthcare expert to an expert that focuses on retail and restaurants. We have experts in the international arena as well as the government arena, and we have a Spanish-speaking liaison as well. We have experts in the technology realm as well as construction, logistics, and manufacturing. So right now, you should know that there's a whole team of people here to support you here at Prince George's County Economic Development Corporation, and we want to help you grow. Next slide, please. Small business services includes different programming and partnerships with resource partners. So if you're just starting out, you might need to speak to a SCORE counselor to help you with your business plan or other things along those lines. So one thing you should know is that we are a one-stop shop. If we don't have the resource here at Prince George's County Economic Development Corporation, we're going to get you as a business owner to the right resource you need, whether that's TEDCO and financing programs for technology innovators, or whether that's a business incubator that you might need to be familiar with, or whether that's procurement support or certification support, or whatever that assistance may be. Perhaps a specific counselor or a mentor even. So please join us for some of our upcoming programs. I wanted to just highlight a few things on the next slide. So business resources, every business owner should be aware that we have the Maryland Business Reboot program. This is actually offered through the University of Maryland Smith School of Business. If you did not know this, they have, throughout the time period of COVID-19, they've provided a series of programs, covering everything from marketing to finance and a host of other resources. I just encourage you to know that that's a free service to you, and you should take advantage of it. And we're proud, very proud, to have University of Maryland College Park in our midst, as well as University of Maryland Global Campus and Bowie State University. So we're blessed to have three universities from the University System of Maryland in our community. I wanted to highlight that during Global Entrepreneurship Week, November 8th through 14th, many of our partners at those institutions and other innovators throughout the community will be participating in Global Entrepreneurship Week. First Friday coaching, that's something that's helpful to businesses and open to businesses in our community. And I would just mention that in the past, we've coordinated a program with Lerch Brewer as well that was focused on startup elements related to legal aspects of buying and selling a business, company formation, employment law, contract law. We'll be covering and touching upon some of those elements as we go through the different pathways to business expansion and growth series. But I just wanted to make mention of that. You can find some of that information also online. Next slide, please. So again, I wanted to make sure that you have the Pathways link, because there are a series of programs upcoming covering everything from legal matters, financial matters, and a host of other matters. But right now, today, we're pleased to have with us Michael Lease from CoStar, Marcus Daniel from NAI Michael, and my colleague, John Mason, right here from PGCEDC. And he's going to kick off the program talking about site selection and things that you may need to know. John, turning it over to you. Thank you. John, I think you're muted.
Okay, that's a good start, right? Good morning to everyone, and thank you very much for being a part of this forum this morning. Thank you very much, Alicia, and thank you, Lerch Brewer, for being our sponsor. We're pretty excited about disseminating all this great information to you as a business owner about what it really takes to expand and grow your business from a location standpoint. And as Alicia mentioned, again, I'm the Business Development Director with Prince George's County Economic Development Corporation, and I've been in economic development for almost a quarter century, spending about 10 years with the state of Maryland and years with other various counties, helping businesses to grow and expand and also to start. My largest relocation project was when we brought a large institutional trading facility, which was Morgan Stanley, from Manhattan, New York to Baltimore City, which created about 1,000 jobs and employed people making an average salary of over $100,000 a year. However, my smallest project has been a hot dog stand in Cambridge, Maryland. So whether it be large or small, each project is important to us as an economic development organization because it's important to you as a business owner. You should always aspire to grow and expand and create jobs that pay livable wages and bring people to a point where they can create wealth in their own lives. So with the expansion opportunity comes the creation of wealth and your capacity to create more opportunities to bring in more business and garner more revenue. But there is a process that's involved with doing that. And there are people out there that are professionals in the business that can help you to really partner and get that done. So I'm going to start with our slideshow this morning. Next slide, please. So essentially, there are about 8 basic steps that you need to really know in order to focus and on optimizing the opportunity to put your business in the right location. It's very important to be in the right location in order to bring in more revenue, get more customers and what have you. There's that old cliche about selling beach balls in Alaska. Well, that's not a good idea. And so that's a little more embellished, but we don't want you to do that. Next slide, please. We want you to know the process of how to really expand to a point where you find a home for your company, for their employees, where they can be comfortable, that from a logistics standpoint, they're able to get to work through public transportation or through the highway system or what have you, that they can have a great experience in working with your company so you can retain those employees. So step 1 of our 8-step process is creating an expansion team. And that's why we brought on a couple of really rock star professionals today, and Marcus Daniels and Michael Leese, that are what we consider team members in a lot of the projects that we're working on for companies that are coming into Prince George's County from the outside as attraction projects, and also companies that are already here that are trying to really grow and expand and be greater in this marketplace. And so within your company, you should have some folks that you have identified as that executive team and members that will be really responsible for spearheading that whole expansion effort. Of course, you should use somebody from the EDC, from the Economic Development Corporation, to help you with that. We can help you to navigate and guide you through a lot of processes and save you just a lot of time, energy, and money in doing things the right way. So look for us as kind of the gatekeepers, the EDC. We're able to really connect you to a lot of the resources, albeit technology tools and what other key professionals within the industry that can help you with your project. But we consider an expansion to be a project. So I'm going to use that term today. When you hear that term throughout our forum here, you'll know we're talking about basically you expanding your business, and we call them projects. Certainly, you need a commercial real estate broker, and Marcus is with us today. Marcus is an associate broker with NII Michaels, who is probably the most iconic commercial real estate brokerage in Prince George's County and the region, doing a phenomenal job and doing a lot of development work here in the county and in the region. And Marcus, we're so glad to have you as an associate broker to be with us this morning on our forum. Banking and funding sources, certainly, it takes money. So you must identify how much money, where that money is coming from, what we call the capital stack. What are you going to do, or who you're going to enlist to really bring the capital so that you can do your development project or do your expansion. And don't think that we're just talking about large projects. We're talking about smaller projects, mid-sized projects. We're talking about restaurants. We're talking about, in some cases, I can go as even far as to say is 2 or 3 people operation, where you want to expand so that you can have enough office space once your business starts rolling in to grow and even hire 10 or 15 more people. Land use attorney, Lerch Brewer, our sponsor, is exactly that. They're a quite iconic land use attorney within the region. You need a land use attorney because you need somebody to help you navigate through all the legalities and really understand the policy and the law as regards to how am I going to use this land? Is it zoned properly? Is it the proper use that we're looking at in order to go there? You don't want to go out and buy land without having gotten information from folks like Marcus and Lerch Brewer as to whether or not you can really do what you intend to do in your business on that land. Civil engineering firms, you need those technical folks in there to determine, is everything in place, from is the soil the right way and things like that, in order to you for you to be able to build on that land. The tax departments within Prince George's County, we do have a tax department that allow us to be able to give you some incentives that help you mitigate your project costs simply by virtue of the fact that you're in a certain location. You may be privy to getting some tax breaks because you're located in a certain area. So someone in your organization should be an expert at that and be able to really connect with our tax people to help you determine if you're eligible. And certainly human resources professionals from your team should be a part of that team within your organization, because when you're recruiting human capital being people, to work in the organization as you do your expansion, you want to make sure that those folks within that area where you're expanding, particularly within Prince George's County, are skilled up. We certainly have these great universities, and Brewer University and University of Maryland, and they have specific areas where they're churning out these really smart people coming out of that brain factory, and they're out there and they're ready for work and they're looking for jobs. And hopefully within your organization, your human resources professional will be able to access those folks with the right skill sets in order to bring them into your organization. And some companies use outside site selection consultants. These are mainly larger projects. As a matter of fact, I mentioned to you the deal that we did with the state with Morgan Stanley. That was a company that they hired in Manhattan that was responsible for vetting 89 cities throughout the country in order to end up coming to Maryland to put that operation here. So these folks are doing a lot of that the on the ground work and vetting out these communities and whatnot. They're a very expensive group of folks to work with. You might not need that right away, but as you grow your operation, who knows, at some point you may want to bring them onto the team. And then your business unit participants, you do not want to not involve your staff members, the ones that are going to be working there, the ones that live within the areas around your enterprise, to make sure you have buy-in right out of the gate. You don't want to go locating somewhere and then all of a sudden you make this huge announcement to your staff and you find out that they really don't want to commute. You don't want to risk lose this this great staff of people that you have that represent the institutional knowledge to keep your businesses growing and expanding. So you want to make sure you get the buy-in and feedback from your staff. And then there are those within the construction industry for when you're doing your build out, when you're designing your layout for your new facility. If you're leasing what we call a warm lit shell, which is just an open building with nothing, you're starting with a blank canvas, you're able to just go ahead and do your own design with an architect and what have you, and a general contractor certainly to do the construction. And I wanted to, they're down at the bottom, but this is a very important group, a permit expediter. And so we partner with our sister agency, which is called the Department of Permitting, Inspections, and Enforcement. We call them DPI. And DPI is a group that's responsible for making sure that you're in compliance with all of the laws in order to get your permit, whether it be an occupancy permit, a grading permit, or what have you. Lots of different permits that may be required for you to do a build out or for you to do a build up. That's being, you don't have a building there now, or you have this land and you're building from nothing. There's a lot of permitting that's involved with that. You really want to connect with the EDC, because literally we are right across the street from those folks. We can bring them into our organization and our agency and have meetings and discuss your project and what have you. So you don't go, far out there spending a lot of money and then you find out that you need to do other things in order to get a permit to do your building. So again, I spent a little bit more time on this slide because it's important for you to see all that who could be involved. Now, maybe it's not necessary for your business, depending upon how large or small you are, but there are lots of resources out there and the EDC can help you make those connections. Thank you, Jordan. Next slide. So you want to define the project. What exactly are you wanting to do? And defining the project, based on your business and what you're doing. A software company, say, versus a medical office may have different requirements. So the project team gets involved and really begins to understand what is the labor rates for that particular area. Are your suppliers, is your supply chain really in place in order to get you the supplies you need, albeit raw material or what have you? Do you have the correct infrastructure involved? Do you have the right water and sewer capacity in order to do exactly what you're trying to do? As a manufacturer, you don't want to go into an area where the water and sewer capacity is such that you're not able to put the right size pipes in there to gain access to water if that's your need. So based on your business, what are the requirements that you're going to need in order to get that moving? Next slide, Jordan. You have to create a geographic project list. So you create that list based on the requirements in order to understand exactly, do you have everything in place that you need for the locations that you've narrowed down thus far? And this is kind of a little bit redundant with the first slide, but what you want to do is once you understand the requirements, then you create a list and you make sure you use that as a guide. Next slide, Jordan. The next thing is for us to understand what are the certain factors that you have to really know in order to understand where you want to go. Demographics, what is the mix? If you're a business and you're looking to go into an area where you're trying to attract a certain demographic, you want to understand, is there critical mass of people within that demographic area, within that specific area that represent your customer base? If you have a product that caters to, say, a certain community of people, as albeit Hispanic or African American or what have you, is this an area where you have the critical mass of what will be potential customers to come into that area? Educational attainment. If you have a business where you require very smart people with college degrees, engineering degrees, science, and what have you, in math, in order to be able to come and work there and accomplish everything you need to accomplish. Do you have all of these things in place? It's labor availability. And I'm not going to go through each one on the list, but as you read this list, you kind of understand exactly what we're trying to gain here. A knowledge and an understanding of all of the factors that are involved in you deciding what that location will be. Look at the two where it says recent closures and expansions. So you have a business that in one particular area may not be doing as well for whatever reason. Why would you go to another area with very similar demographics and stand a chance of not being successful? So you have to understand what the closures have been there, where those closures have been and for what reason. And then we have, when we discussed this before, consultants out there that would help you with that process. We talked also about infrastructure, roads, utilities, fiber, what have you, and zoning we talked about when we discussed DPI. And then there's cost factors involved. What are the utility rates? In some areas, the rates are a lot higher than other areas. If your particular project involves you using a lot of electricity, then you have to determine exactly what those rates are and if that goes with your business model. You have to examine the logistics costs, the wage rates and wages of competitors and what have you. So cost factors and basic economic factors are what you need to consider. Next slide, please. And then again, you conduct an analysis of all the requirements that we've discussed, and you narrow those sites that you have already looked at through brokerage, through maybe commercial real estate brokerage, down to just a few sites. Maybe you go from 10 to 5, And then you drill down further and go from 5 to 3. And then you end up with 2 sites that meet all the criteria. And you start to, again, get a little bit deeper into why one site may be more beneficial to your business than another. Next slide. We talked about also conducting, I don't know if we've really gotten too much into this, but once you have narrowed those choices down, then you want to go on to site visits. Now, by this time, you've already gotten the services of a commercial real estate broker, say a Marcus Daniels involved. Marcus has found those sites for you that meet all your requirements. And you've talked with Lerch Brewer, who's also a part of your team as a land use attorney. And they've determined those last 2 sites are sites that meet all of the engineering requirements. You've spoken with engineering firms, civil engineering firms, and you've narrowed those down. And so you go out and you visit those sites and you take a look for yourself. You maybe take some of the employees with you and some of your senior staff and determine whether or not which one is best suited for your operation. Next slide, please. And then after you have done that, and you get down to those 2, and maybe even that 1, the negotiation process begins, albeit for purchase or for a lease, it is a negotiation. And so that's why you have licensed or commercial real estate brokers to help you negotiate those things. This is what these folks do all day long. Now, the EDC can kind of get you a little further along, but when it comes down to negotiating your lease and your purchase, where there's a lot of money involved, you want to definitely have the professionals involved with a commercial real estate broker. Just they can help you determine what are the best terms, what is the best lease rate. Can you get what we call a work letter, which means that, hey, maybe the owner of the building, because he wants your business, he wants you to locate there, maybe he's going to kick in some money in order to help you do your build out. This is what happens with the brokerage community. They help you negotiate all those things with the building owners. Next slide, please, Jordan. And then once you have negotiated, you've signed the lease, then comes the building out of the site, where you bring in the architect and you bring in the contractor and the subcontractors to help you build out the site in order that it works exactly for what your needs are. And so I'm going to talk about the last step just a little bit. Next slide, please. Is number 8 being staying in compliance with regulatory and economic development agreements. What am I talking about there? Well, the EDC in the state of Maryland and also the Economic Development Corporation, based on the scope of your project, the number of jobs you're going to create, the capital investment that you're going to make in that, where you're going to locate the project, what area of the county you're going to be. Some of these areas from a statutory standpoint, and when I say statutory, what I mean is by virtue of the fact that you locate there, you automatically get these benefits and these incentives because you're located in that specific area of the county. But once you locate there and you've agreed that these are the incentives that we're entitled to, you have to stay in compliance. You have to work with those agreements. In other words, if you said you're going to create 100 jobs by 24 months in this project, and you've agreed to that, and subsequent to that, you've gotten incentives, you have to make sure that you stay accountable and maintain those numbers and report those numbers in. And that's what we mean when we say economic development agreements based on incentives. The last thing is maintain compliance with regulatory. And that is that you stay in compliance with laws and rules and regulations to make sure that you are doing everything that you need to do, that you don't get fined because of environmental issues and things like that. So those are the basic 8-step processes. A lot of them may not apply to you specifically in large scale, but to some degree in small scale, each one really does apply to you. So, and again, the EDC is right here to help you. That kind of concludes my presentation. And so we want to talk a little bit about some of the tools that we use with our partners that help us to really drill down and help you find sites. And Michael Lease from CoStar is with us to help give us some guidance on that. Take it away, Michael.
Perfect. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to go through the site selection process, what's important to you guys. And John did a really good job of kind of explaining the process, and I'm here to support that. So Jordan, if you hit the next slide for me, actually go 2 slides. So we'll kind of go into, who CoStar is, what we do, what we provide to companies like the Prince George's Economic Development Corporation, as well as your local broker, like Marcus, right? So they're using these tools to help you effectively identify a site, and everything that John kind of touched on is really where we come in and provide the data, the analytics, the actual tools that allow you to effectively maximize that decision-making process. And we'll kind of go through how we gather that information, what information we provide to you, and how that's important in the decision-making process. And then we'll actually hop into the product live so you can get a feel for how someone like John or your local EDC would utilize it, as well as Marcus, when actually trying to identify a site. Next slide, Jordan, please. So who we are, right? We've been around for over 30 years. We're the industry standard when it comes to data analytics for the commercial real estate industry. So we work with professionals nationwide, right? We work with lenders, we work with all government entities, we work with every single brokerage across the country who are utilizing this information because they, one, trust it, and two, they understand the importance in terms of every aspect of identifying, in this case, a site, right? You need every piece of the puzzle. So you need to obviously geographically find a location. And then once you've identified a location, you need to understand what the rental rates are. What are things leasing for? If you're looking to maybe purchase the site that you'll be operating out of, what are things selling for? So that when someone like Marcus goes into CoStar, they can go in there and help you negotiate that and make sure you're getting the best possible price, whether you're talking about the rent or you're talking about actually purchasing the building. So we have a number of different ways of gathering this information. So on the next couple slides here, you'll get an idea for how we do that. So research is the lifeblood of CoStar, right? So we have over 2,000 researchers nationwide, and they're tasked with several different things, right? Primarily, I'm going to go over the two ways we gather information as far as the properties that we track, and then how we continually update those properties so you're getting relevant, up-to-date, accurate information. So the next slide here is going to touch on our field team. So these are people who actually drive around and they're physically out there in the marketplace every single day, cataloging commercial properties. So we're making sure that we're taking photos, we're understanding what's on the market for sale, what's on the market for lease, and continuing to build our database. And then they collect that information and they provide it to our portfolio team, which is on the next slide here, to go in there and update that information. So we call on every single property, whether we're reaching out to the owner or the broker. We're continually trying to update every single listing at least every 30 days to, again, provide our clients with the most up-to-date, accurate information. So from the site selection process, when a broker goes in there and looks for a potential location, they know that they're getting up-to-date information. They don't have to go verify it. And ultimately, in real estate, time is money. So it's a cliche statement, but it really does hold true here. And we want to make sure that we can eliminate the time that's spent in helping you identify a site and make sure we can provide kind of a one-stop solution, which is what CoStar aims to do. So a couple of quick stats for you guys. We track over 9,000 properties in Prince George's County alone. And in total, there's over 1,000 active listings. So again, we're making sure that when you're identifying a site, you're not missing out on any potential opportunities, and you're giving yourself the best possible chance to see everything that's out there and when evaluating your decision. And then we have those sales comparables or those lease comparables. So when you're talking about buying the building or buying a piece of land, understanding what things are selling for so you can negotiate the best sale price. And on the lease side, understanding what things are leasing for. So when you're looking at rental rates, you understand how to negotiate that, what you should be paying, maybe what you shouldn't be paying, to make sure you're not overpaying and using that money elsewhere. All right, so John did a really good job of kind of touching on a lot of these factors. So I kind of highlighted a few here as well that I think is our strong suit in terms of what information we provide in conjunction with those factors. So John kind of touched on the financial aspects, right? Understanding rents, operating expenses, utilities, all things that go into your cash flow and help you identify a site. And then the demographic information. So John touched on it a lot, right? Depending on what type of service you provide, whether you're in retail or you're opening up an office, understanding the demographic is very important because you don't want to put a retail property in an area where you're not going to have any consumers, right? You need to set yourself up for success, and understanding, what the demographic layout looks like is very important specifically to that property. So we track these things, right? We track spending habits, we track employment data, population growth. We forecast that information. So understanding in the next couple of years where that population may be goes into deciding, hey, do we want to have our location here? Do we want to put it somewhere else where the population is maybe expected to grow over the next couple of years with the demographic we're looking to target? And then things like traffic counts, right? If you're a retail business and you want a lot of visibility and you want to make sure that you're going to have a lot of people driving by and seeing your location, that's important. Whereas some people may want to be in a more secluded location, they want more confidentiality, maybe they want to be off a main road, they don't want a lot of drive-by traffic, and that type of information is important for them as well. Competition, whether it's good competition or bad competition, it's important to understand either who's in your building that you will be occupying when you open up your business, or if you're able to utilize their business to benefit you, right? If you're opening up a restaurant, are you in a heavily trafficked area as it relates to offices and that type of stuff where people may get off work and may need to go get something to eat, whatever the case may be? Maybe you can work with a lot of these businesses in the surrounding areas to help benefit your own business. So these are all things to kind of take into consideration, and we track all that information. Again, proximity to other businesses. It's important maybe for your employees to be around entertainment areas or different shops, things that are going to encourage people to work for your company or current employees, right? Understanding what their needs are and what they may be looking for. Maybe they have kids and they need something that's near, like a daycare, for instance, and they have to commute into work, and it'd be nice for them to have something nearby that allows them to drop their kids off while they're at work, and it's convenient for them, right? All things to kind of take into consideration there. Parking and accessibility. Maybe you need a large parking lot, maybe you don't, or maybe you're a business that requires frequent deliveries of inventory. So making sure that you're in an accessible location. If you're working with large scale transportation and you need drive-in docks, or you need areas for these trucks to kind of come in, easy pathways, that information is important as well. And then I think John touched on this as well. So building infrastructure, right? You're hiring those civil engineers and people who are going to utilize CoStar a lot of the time to understand these types of factors here to make sure the building is actually set up for everything that you're going to be needing to use it for. So I'm actually going to hop into the product live. So I don't know if Jordan, if you have to unshare the screen here, but I should be able to hop into my screen. Give me 1 second. All right.
Yeah, no, none of us are.
Can you guys see my screen? John, can you see my screen here? The show CoStar?
We can see it. And I just wanted to mention that if anybody's unmuted still, maybe mute yourself if you're talking to others. But Michael, yes, we can see your screen. Thank you so much.
Okay, perfect. So this is our homepage here, right? So when talking about identifying a site, what is the first thing that either your local EDC or your broker is going to utilize? They're going to hop in here and they're going to look at all the properties that we provide, and then they're going to start digging into the information. So CoStar is pretty comprehensive, but focusing on site selection, geographically, I'm just going to filter to the Prince George's County area and show you what that looks like and the types of properties that we're tracking there. All right, so I should mention, John talked about this, if you're a larger business and you're using a site selector, a lot of times they're going to be using CoStar. But if you're a smaller business and maybe don't have the capital to necessarily afford paying for a site selection specialist, you can have confidence that someone like Marcus, right, who is what we consider a power user, he's an expert in utilizing this information. He's going to have access to the same exact tools that these site selectors are utilizing. So you can have confidence that when you work with a broker like Marcus, he's able to go in here and utilize the information that John touched on and provide you with the best possible opportunities for your business. So if we narrow this down, I'm just gonna use an example. I'm gonna say retail properties. I'm gonna do all retail properties that are for lease. All right, so you're just trying to lease space. You're not really looking to purchase anything or develop any sort of property. You're just looking to lease some space. This is what you're looking at. So in total, we're tracking about 241 properties for lease in the Prince George's County market. And this is for retail. We're narrowed down here.
Yeah, no, I got it. I'm gonna tell them all data.
And you'll notice your properties popping up here on the right side. So if we wanted to just hop into one of these to give you an idea for the type of information we're providing on each actual location, you'll see we get very granular with the actual data itself for each property, and our demographic information is tied to a specific property. So understanding within, maybe a 1, 3, or 5 mile radius, what do the demographics look like? What are consumer spending habits? What are household incomes? All important factors that, depending on the type of business you're looking to either open up or grow into, understanding that information is going to be prevalent to your decision-making process. So in this one, you have some information as far as how much space is available, what the asking rents are, right? Understanding some building qualities here. Looking at things like leasing activity, understanding who the other tenants are in the area, talking about that competition aspect, right? So you have tenant information. And then you have market conditions. So understanding things like vacancies, understanding rents compared to the market, right? If they're asking $3, $4, $5 over market rent, that's an opportunity for your broker to go in there and utilize this as a negotiation tactic. And you can see here the primary leasing company is NAI Michael, right? So Marcus's company is representing this. So they're very well versed with these properties in the area. They're very well versed with this type of information. And again, kind of going into demographics, understanding public transportation. If you're in need of an area where there's it's easily accessible, maybe a lot of your employees don't drive and take public transportation, understanding what that surrounding area looks like from a transportation standpoint is also important. Traffic counts, again, that demographic information at a snapshot here, but you can dig in to this information, right? If I want to understand who the tenants are in the building, right? I can get a quick look here of who's in the area that I'm looking to potentially open up my business. I can also look at things like detailed demographics that we kind of touched on, whereas previously, right on that first page, you looked at kind of like a base level of the demographic information. This is going to get a bit more detailed, right? Depending on the type of business you're opening, understanding different types and bits and pieces of this information could be vital to your business, right? And understanding if it's a location that you want to be in or not, right? So we go into things like income in the area. We go into charts and graphs of population growth, right? We go into educational attainment. John kind of touched on this. Do you need people with a certain type of degree? Are you looking for people who are graduating with engineering degrees, whatever the case may be? Understanding what that breakdown is going to be, important for you when you're deciding on this site, right? As we go down here, you can see we kind of break it down even further. You can look at population, travel to work information. Where are people traveling from? What's the average commute times, right? Daytime employment, understanding these statistics are important, right? Depending on industry type. Are there a lot of employees that are occupying similar business types? Is there going to be enough in there if I'm trying to grow my company? Understanding where that talent pool is coming from is, again, another thing to consider. Consumer spending habits. Right, and as we go down here, you can see we have very detailed information that someone like Marcus would be utilizing once you've laid out a criteria. John kind of touched on those steps. Once you kind of have that defined criteria and you provide it to your local EDC or you provide it to Marcus, they're going to all work in conjunction to strategize with you and utilize this data effectively to make sure you have everything laid out and you can make the best decision for your company moving forward. Last thing to kind of touch on here is the actual analytics behind this information. So if you're trying to understand what average rents look like or what things have trended towards, right, or pre-pandemic numbers, especially during COVID, right, these numbers are fluctuating very drastically. So understanding where things were prior to the pandemic, where they are now, and where we foresee them going is important for projecting, how successful your business will be in a certain area or not, right? So you can go in here and you can analyze, this is analyzing these 224 properties, but you can narrow it down if you wanted to look at restaurant space, for instance, and you wanted to look at what the rents look like, or you wanted to understand how much inventory there is, right? Am I competing with a lot of vacancies? If an area has a lot of vacancy, that's maybe something to consider, right? Why is there a lot of vacancy? Or is there not a lot of business coming into that area? And these are all factors that Marcus and your local EDC in Prince George's County will be consulting you on, right? So they're using these tools to understand the market, to understand how to best analyze what's happening here so that you have confidence, right, in your next site selection. So here you kind of have time ranges. So you're looking at 3-year averages. So again, looking at things pre-pandemic versus where they are now on average, right? And then we also have forecasted data that is going to allow you to project up to 5 years out, understanding where rents are going, understanding, that type of information that's important to progressing your business, right? So that's about all I have. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Marcus now. He's going to share his side of things to you, and he'll go through PG Atlas here, which is an important tool that he's also utilizing in conjunction with CoStar.
Very good. Thank you so much, Mike. And thank you again to the Prince George's County Economic Development Corporation and Lerch, and Brewer for helping to organize this amazing conversation today. My name is Marcus Daniels. I'm a vice president and associate broker at NAI Michael. NAI Michael is a full service commercial real estate brokerage and development firm. It's a family owned business that's been in business in Prince George's County for over 45 years and has helped businesses grow and expand across the county and across the region in the country as well for a number of years. And so very happy to share with you all today some additional tips on site selection, and right now talk a bit about Prince George's County's GIS mapping tool, PGAtlas.com. And so PGAtlas.com is a tremendous resource for business owners, property owners, and real estate professionals like myself and Mike, who are constantly looking for opportunities to identify sites. And so the website PGAtlas.com will take you to this homepage. You'll see a number of tools at the top of the page on the right-hand side. So you'll have advanced mapping tools. You'll have layers where you can show the, if you can click that layer button for me, you'll see that you can pull zoning information, proposed zoning, latest imagery, administrative information, easement data, environmental data, elevation maps, historical maps, historical aerial maps as well, parks, points of interest, transportation, sewer and water maps. And it is a tremendous tool if you're looking, particularly if you're looking at a property for your business, to make sure that the zoning does fit, as we have discussed during this conversation. You want to ensure that you can operate your business on that property based off of the zoning. Currently, Prince George's County is going through a conversion of the zoning ordinance. And so as a part of this mapping software, you have a opportunity to be able to identify what the proposed zoning will be for your property and what level of impact that may have on your property as well. If you're a business owner that owns a property, this is an effective tool as well. And I know that the Prince George's County Planning Department has done a tremendous job in terms of pouring resources and keeping this data updated. So we can just, Mike, if you could go to the next, the little, magnifying glass, and we'll type in, let me just type in our office, 10100 Business Parkway. And I'll just quickly show you an example of this. Okay, perfect. And so, Mike, if you could just hit the.
I'm actually not in control of it.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So if you whoever's controlling it, I believe it's Jordan. Thank you. If you could just hit the layers, and then we could just go through from the top. So we can click on zoning, and so you'll see it identify the zoning of the property. If you are looking at the proposed zoning, you can unclick and then click property zoning, proposed zoning. And then they'll show you what the proposed zoning is for the site. And then latest imagery, which should give you an aerial view of the site. And so on and so forth. And so this is a tremendous tool. The Prince George's County Planning Department has actual video tutorial for residents to be able to learn how to use PG Atlas. And I would highly recommend that if you are interested in this, make sure you have a professional like myself or Michael or folks at the EDC that are utilizing these tools, because it is a tremendous resource. In addition, it does have plat maps, tax account numbers, and ownership information as well. So PG Atlas is a tool I use every day, and I definitely use CoStar every day as well. If you could pull back up the presentation. As Mike and John have mentioned, having a team is very important for any level of success in your business. And we want to be a part of your team. Next slide, please. Next slide. What we typically will do as a part of our activities working with business owners is to be able to understand what your business goals and objectives are, helping you to understand the best location for your business. So John and Mike did a really fantastic job of kind of discussing what that process looks like, understanding where your customers are. And so as a commercial real estate broker, one of the additional tools that I use to be able to help business owners identify where their customers are, as well as where their employees are, is by using mapping software. And so typically what that process will look like is I would be provided with a list of addresses or zip codes for the customers or employees for your business, and then put that on a map so we can identify where are the clusters of your customers, where are the clusters of your employees, where are the paths for growth, and where are there potential opportunities to expand your business. That is a very important tool to use in conjunction with PG Atlas as well as CoStar. And that's something that we do as a part of our process to help businesses and organizations understand what the best location is for their business, whether this is their first location or they're looking at expanding as well. And so Mike had just talked about how we use CoStar on a day-to-day basis to identify sites for leasing for sale, as well as LoopNet.com. For most people who are business owners or investors or just residents of the county that are interested in commercial real estate, I know most people use LoopNet.com, which is a great website and affiliated with CoStar as well, to be able to identify opportunities. And so you would go on CoStar.com, go on LoopNet.com, type in Prince George's County, Maryland. Maybe you're looking for warehouses for lease, and it will provide you with a list of all of those warehouses. And then they will provide you with the contact information and the marketing brochures as well for those properties. I highly recommend that, if you are just getting started, it's good to get a sense of what the market is, but I highly recommend that you consult with a commercial real estate broker. And that doesn't necessarily have to be Marcus Daniels or myself, but certainly anyone at our firm, NAI Michael, would be happy to assist you in that process. As I had mentioned before, there's a lot of opportunity on market, but then there are also opportunities off market as well. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So PG Atlas, like I said, is a very helpful tool. We're very thankful for the county investing money into that tool, and they have property information for owners. And so and they also have neighborhood information that can be important to you as well, as you consider the importance of demographics and market trends. As Mike had mentioned, as well as John, if you have a very specific employee profile that you're looking for, or customer profile, client profile, it's important to understand those demographics and the market trends. I think during the pandemic, there has been an interesting trend of migration across all the states in the country. And so understanding what are the employment trends, what are the migration trends, and what are the opportunities that are presented from those activities. Next slide, please. And so, as I mentioned, it's important to consult and hire a commercial real estate broker as a part of the things that you can do now. Even before you identify the opportunity, is to organize all of your business documents, including your bylaws, articles of incorporation, financial statements, proof of funds letter. If you have already been working with a financial institution, if you have not been working with a financial institution, please consult with anyone at the EDC or consult with me, and we're happy to connect you with FSC First or other banks and lending institutions in Prince George's County that we have worked with and actively work with to help businesses be able to acquire commercial real estate. And so having all of your business documents in order on the front end will provide you with an opportunity to immediately jump on an opportunity as it becomes available. Oftentimes, sometimes the opportunities are identified, but it may take 2, 3, 4 weeks or months to be able to organize the business documents, and then that opportunity is no longer available. So it's very important to be able to do that and make sure that you are prepared for the opportunity when it presents itself. As I mentioned, identifying the off-market opportunities, PG Atlas is a great tool for that, utilizing the information tab and getting the mailing addresses for property owners. Typically, what that process will look like is you can look up their home phone number or mobile number, or if they have a mailing address on the mailing address should be on the tax record for the owner. You can send them a letter and see if they may have an interest in meeting with you to further discuss you or your business leasing the property, or if you're looking to acquire the property, what their level of interest may be with that. And a couple final points where we get ready to move to final remarks and Q&A is check on the proposed use with the property zoning. As I mentioned, I've seen some instances where folks have went out and bought pieces of land and they thought that they could store, let's say, as an example, do outside storage and store cars and building materials and things of that nature, but the zoning didn't permit that. And then unfortunately, they were forced to not be able to do those activities on the site. It's very important to consult with a land use and zoning attorney. I consider most of the real estate professionals like John and Mike and land use and zoning attorneys, essentially real estate professionals that you need to have on your team, or my best friends. And we talk every day or every week pretty much to understand what the needs are and what the opportunities are as it relates to, commercial real estate in Prince George's County, but understanding what the opportunities are to be able to use the property as well. So that's very important, and it's something that you should be aware of. Let me just say that as a commercial real estate broker, we are paid 100% off a commission. There's no retainer fee. There's no upfront cost. We work for you for free until we are compensated. So I just wanted to make sure that's clear so folks know that we are working for you and with you to help you and your business be successful. Finally, in closing, just continue to gather as much information from the owner as you can and make sure that your real estate broker is doing the same thing. So historical operating expenses, capital improvement plans for the building, if they have a reserve fund for the property, understanding what that looks like, understanding what your potential obligations are going to be. The commercial real estate broker like myself will help you to underwrite and essentially model out on an annual and yearly basis what that value will look like. And so if you're signing a 5-year lease, how much are you going to pay year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and 5? And then if you're going to be looking at renewing that lease at the end of year 5, what does the economics of that look like? And so I would highly recommend that you all please go back and look at this video. I think there's been a ton of great information that's been shared today, and I'm happy to connect with each and everyone here. I'm absolutely excited to help businesses grow in the county, and I think 2022 is going to be an unbelievable year for business. And so my contact information is below. That's my cell phone number, so you can just call me. 24/7, doesn't matter. Send me a text message, happy to work with you all. And then please take a moment to visit our website, naimichael.com. Learn more about our company. We have market reports as well. I'm currently working with Mike actually on several market reports in the southern portion of Prince George's County. So that should be coming out later this year. But very excited to work with you and work for you. And again, thank you to the EDC for the opportunity. This has been an amazing discussion.
Sorry, I keep trying to unmute myself. Thank you, Marcus and Michael and John. Great session. So now we are open for Q&A. And so I did see, I want to thank you all. First of all, you brought up some very good points, right? You have to make sure that you're going into a properly zoned location for the use that you are intending to use that property for, right? You should be looking at your finances and getting your financial elements and the paperwork you need together. You should be making sure that you have advocates looking out for you as you're entering into lease agreements and other situations. You have free resources like PG Atlas, the census data, and then other data sources like CoStar that are all available to you through either the EDC or individually. So we really got some great lessons, you know, building your team and making sure that you're actually thinking about this in the right way and have the tools together to build and expand your business. So one of the questions in the chat was, or in the Q&A actually, yes, the session is being recorded and you will get a PowerPoint presentation as well as the recorded session. They will be posted online in the Pathways portal. So please check the Pathways portal for the recording of this session. Larry Schaefer is asking, does the county have property they own and or control that they would consider doing a PPP on? And John, that's probably for you. So I'll let you respond to that.
Yes, Larry, that's a great question. And the answer is, I can say in the past, the county has partnered with private sector in order to do huge development projects. One that we are extremely proud of is the Suitland Town Center, which at this particular time now is about to commence with building 100,000 square foot of retail that will go along with close to 800 new multifamily development projects on previously owned county land that had some challenges over the years. And so the county did acquisition of that land, entered into an agreement with the developer. And what you see right now, just adjacent to the Federal Center on Suitland, Silver Hill Road and Suitland Road, is the Suitland Town Center Development Project. We are so proud of that project. We've got another that is right off Bright Seat Road that is a multifamily unit. And there are other ones that we are now considering. I also wanted to mention this, within the next 30 to 45 days, the county is in the process of coming up with a list of properties that would be dispositioned to the private sector. The Office of the OCS, which is the Office of Central Services, / the portfolio group, which is run by Akina Odejafor. That group is putting together that program that will allow you to see what properties are ready for disposition and hopefully will be acquired by private sector for commercial use. So we will keep you abreast to, you know, where that is as it develops and when that forum and that program will actually happen. The last time we had one was 2 years ago. We were supposed to have one, of course, last year. COVID kind of ruined things on a lot of fronts, but that is supposed to come back this year, maybe virtually, maybe in person. We're still gathering information on that. So yeah, the short answer is yes, there are opportunities for that. We can certainly talk offline about what some of those opportunities are. And we're open to partnering with private sector to, you know, bring the county to a point where we're considering to maximize use of our land assets.
Thank you, John. So one of the other questions here is, if a business owner did not follow some of the steps outlined above, that you all have talked about, is there a way to redeem the situation? Say they got themselves into a lease maybe that isn't a good fit, or have other issues. Maybe they got themselves into a place that isn't properly zoned. And this may be more for the legal folks who will be coming on from Lerch Early Brewer. But this was one of the questions in the chat. So I just wanted to throw that out there to the group if anybody has any thoughts on this.
For sure. I would say from my professional experience and dealing with situations where folks have signed leases or purchased properties where they are not able to be able to utilize the real estate, you have to use legal counsel in those situations to be able to resolve those matters. And it's important to be able to do it, to understand how you're using the property and the ability to use the property on the front end. I'll tell you, it will save you a lot of money and a lot of time. And so even something as simple as asking the question of, hey, can you provide me with the most recent occupancy permit for the building? Can you provide me with a list of the tenants that have been in the property as well? And just making sure that you're not in a situation where you're going to be obligated to pay tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in rent for a property that you can't use to generate revenue. And so I would definitely say be proactive on the front end. If you do get in that situation, definitely consult with a real estate attorney. And Lerch Early and Brewer is amongst the best in the county.
Thank you. Any other questions? Let's see. One other question is coming up. Nope. It looks like we've answered all the questions in the Q&A. If anybody else has a question, please feel free to, again, put it in the Q&A. Otherwise, given that we have all this expertise on the panel, are there any final thoughts that you all would give us, the panelists, the three speakers? If there's any other tidbit or bit of advice that you might have from a lesson learned situation that you might like to share with the audience.
If I may, thank you, Alicia. Begin. I would say a couple of different points that came up during our discussion. I kind of wanted to reiterate one that actually did come up, I think, but in short, the Prince George's County Economic Development Corporation has an incredible website that you should utilize frequently. Part of that website has a tab called Building and Sites tab. If you go onto that tab, we've actually we've got a partnership with CoStar to bring a lot of properties into this LoopNet module that will allow you to access all of those properties through our website. So you don't necessarily have to go to LoopNet and peruse that. We've got it structured on our website that it's quite user-friendly and it's really specific to Prince George's County. So it won't pull in a lot of other properties from surrounding. It's real specific to Prince George's County. All you have to do is query the specific requirements, what you're looking for, and you can pull those offices or those retail sites or what have you. The last thing is, and Marcus brought this up, is in terms of funding, a lot of times when you're working with banks, their requirements can be a little stringent, but the EDC has a partnering agency called FSC First, which is a CDFI, Community Development Funding Institution. And what happens with a CDFI is it's a nonprofit that's funded by banks and other sources that allows you as a business owner to access funding where you may not be able to access from a bank because of some stringent requirements or what have you. Or if you need to partner with a bank to bring in more investment into your project. That is run by Michelle Gross Wade. She's an incredible, incredible business person. She's been with that organization for decades, does a really phenomenal job, has a great staff, and they're right here, literally right across the hall from where we are at 1801 McCormick. So FSC First, and also go to our website. It's a great site. It's got a lot of good information on there for you to be able to just peruse and have a ball. Thank you.
So Just so everybody knows, we want to thank you all for joining us. The conclusions are, it's a tricky, it's something that you need to think through as you're thinking through your sites. And we want to thank again, everybody for participating in today. We've hit upon a number of topics, and we're going to go into a deeper dive on many of these topics upcoming. We are doing a series of programs, some in Spanish and some in English. The next English speaking version will be related to land use. The next Spanish speaking version on the 27th will also actually go into a bit related to permitting and other matters. So please stay tuned and go to the Pathways website and register and also go to our website and the calendar events page to register for upcoming sessions that may, again, cover permitting, licensing, land use, marketing, finance, legal elements. And please continue to join these series and learn so that you can grow successfully here in the county. Thank you so very much for joining us today. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you.